Welcome again to another John's Media World Extra. We're focusing in like a laser on Easter. There was a big Easter egg roll and hunt on the south lawn of the White House, hosted by the First Family and relatives and the Easter Bunny. Now, I'm going to show videos and audio, but the videos include, many of them include, the Easter Bunny looking very uncomfortable in a very hot mascot costume, trying to put up with all of the weaving stories that Trump likes to tell while he is talking to children of all things. Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. First, the message to the rest of the world on an Easter Sunday. What a warm thought to pass along to Iran.
Longer, he has just threatened Iran in extraordinary graphic terms, giving the Iranian regime just over a day to either make a deal, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or face hell. If your children are watching, be warned, the president did not use polite language. Quote, Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. We should note that destroying civilian power infrastructure is generally considered to constitute a war crime under international law, though
Yes.
the president
Yes, it
could
is.
argue that the infrastructure has dual use and also is utilized by Iran's military.
No, he could not use it. Why is the media giving him an excuse to commit a war crime? Jake, check that. Okay, now let's go to the actual event itself. South lawn of the White House. The First Family is standing out there. And, of course, Trump wants to take credit for having the eggs because somebody had suggested, I don't know if somebody really did suggest having plastic eggs at the event, but he says somebody did, and he saved them from plastic eggs for Easter because he brought the price of eggs down. So let's check out his response to the crowd.
Would you say 100% or 99%? 100%. Would anybody in the egg industry vote for Kamala? A low IQ person. She's a low IQ person. Who's a lower IQ person, Biden or Kamala? That's close. That's probably the toughest question. That's a tough question.
Is it really a dumb question? Not really. But he did take credit for the bird flu allowing eggs to be out there again. The bird flu was a very serious problem. It raised the price of eggs and chicken. And when that subsided and went away, all the prices came down, not because of Trump, but because we didn't have the bird flu to worry about anymore, right? Okay. Now let's go to another little speech by Trump to the Easter crowd waiting for the Easter egg roll and hunt. This time, he's got a little message about Iran again. Now, of course, if you're watching this, you're seeing the rabbit try to maintain its concentration on just standing there sweating in this big mascot outfit. But here's Trump again, weaving.
He said normally when you're in very hostile territory, and I don't think it gets much more hostile than Iran, they're capable fighters. They're very tough people. And there are others like that. You don't mind when the enemy is weak, but that enemy is strong. Not so strong like they were about a month ago. I can tell you, in fact, right now, they're not too strong at all, in my opinion, but we're soon going to find out, aren't we?
Where are the
But
eggs?
when a thing like that happens, where a pilot shot down, in most instances, you're really not able to go in because you'll go in with 200 people and lots of jet fighters and helicopters, and you really don't have a chance. They get shot down. You lose 200 in order to pick up one. It's a horrible thing.
I think the rabbit is trying to maintain.
We did yesterday is we picked up not one, we picked up two. We kept the first
Its concentration
one
on
quiet,
Easter.
and we were able to keep it quiet for about a day, which made it a lot better.
I think it's
But those
drifting
two
off.
pilots were incredible,
I think
brave,
he's drifting
and
off.
we
Okay.
thank them.
Anyway, that's a message to the crowd. He mentioned also that he was going to have a press conference talking about the very same thing. So he could have waited, actually, instead of giving it to the Easter crowd, who were just waiting for the kids to get out there and chase the eggs. But instead, they had to listen to that, including the Easter Bunny. All right. So now let's move on to the closing bit that I have here. This is a warm, fuzzy story that Trump told to the little kids as he was sitting at a table. I don't know what he was doing. I have no idea, but he was sitting there answering questions or telling the kids what to think about the Easter auto pen. All right, this is the auto pen story.
Biden would use the auto pen. You'd have an auto pen follow.
There you go.
Joe Biden, he didn't sign it. He was incapable of signing things. So they'd follow him around with this big machine. You know what it was called? An auto pen.
What's an auto pen?
And he'd have the auto pen signed for him. He'd take the paper, hand it to his guys, they'd sign it with an auto pen, give it back. Not too big, right?
They are so interested in that. Look at that. Just amazing. Now listen to this.
Okay, that's the fake news.
I made Air Force.
Who likes the fake news? Does anybody like the fake news?
No.
Well, I got a question. I know you got that question out there, and it was answered the way he wants to hear it answered by a little kid. Got to get some points for that. All right, now I just want to make sure that you understand too that I think, and from what I understand, we all saw at least what the Trump library will look like when he's out of office. That thing is going up. And in Florida, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be gigantic. And from what I understand, the Trump library will have the Trump holiday message cards from Hallmark in a little stand. So you might want to check that out when you make your visit. He has many holiday messages that'll be on cards. Yeah. All right. Now let's get to something really, really serious. This is something actually I was just going to do as a report. But I want to get into the public health issue of drugs. Now, public health is very important. During COVID, the Republicans and MAGAs wanted to use COVID as a political weapon against the Democrats, saying that they wanted to destroy the country, they wanted to close all the schools, keep people from going to church, so on and so forth, and put businesses out of business and a lot of people out of jobs. Why anybody would want that? No one would want that, but for whatever reason, the MAGAs truly believe that was it. And even though a lot of what happened during COVID was while Trump was president and put a lot of these things in place that they now truly hate, closing things down, sending checks out to the American public. All right. But anyway, my story here is really about drug prices. And I'm rethinking this because really this is an example of what Republican healthcare is about. Now, we should all be in a single payer system, a universal healthcare system, a national healthcare plan, like all the other countries in the world. They call us radical for this crazy free market version that we have. Democrats are trying to get that message out, but they have completely forgotten about health care when they had the moment to do it, trying to extend the COVID-19 tax credits. They didn't bring it up. Now they haven't brought health care up at all. No one's bringing it up. It should be the major issue for the election this year, bringing up national health care. But that's just the overriding thing. If we had national health care, by the way, this story would not be a story. We wouldn't need to talk about this, okay? I'm going to talk about the drug prices. And this is something no real elected official would ever pull off. They would never try this. There is no reason in the world why anyone would put or slap a 100% tariff on all incoming drugs from other countries. Those drugs are very important to the people that need them. Sustains their life. Lessens the pain. They need these drugs. If it's a 100% tariff, it puts drugs out of their price range. And that's a cruel, inhumane thing to do. And that's why no one has ever done this except for Trump. He's a sociopath. But anyway, I've got a cut here from a press conference, and there was an Australian reporter there. And he was trying to get an answer out of the administration and why the 100% tariff on Australian drugs, they import a lot of drugs here to the country, and plasma. He's wondering why they're being penalized with a 100% tariff. They're even building facilities here in this country. This is the response.
Why does a country like Australia, that's been such a loyal ally to the United States for so long, why are we getting hit so hard?
Which ones are you referring to?
I'm talking about the latest pharmaceutical tariffs that are being announced today.
Right. So when you get a chance to look through that executive order and the fact sheet associated with it, you will see that is really focused on a lot of the deals we've made with countries and companies. It doesn't cover generics. It doesn't cover orphan drugs. It doesn't cover a lot of these things. It's really focused on a lot of deals that have already been made with companies who might be making in Australia, might be making in Austria, might be making in France or other places. And so we have spent the past year hammering out deals with a lot of these companies to make sure they're building in America, which they are. We see concrete going in, superstructures going up on new pharmaceutical facilities, companies that are agreeing to charge less here in the United States for their drugs, which they're agreeing to do. And we're also seeing countries like the United Kingdom rationalizing their pricing structure to make sure that everyone's paying their fair share. And so that's really the news about this.
All right. Now, that's not really the news about this. As you could hear, this is kind of an extortion plan. You know, if you don't build a plant or a facility here in the United States, you're going to be tariffed. Now, I thought the Supreme Court took care of this problem. He can't do that. This is every country that imports drugs into this country. It's not specific. If it were more specific, I think he could probably get away with it. But he's targeting every country that imports drugs into this country. So I don't think this is legal. This defies what the Supreme Court said he could do. Now, if you listen to that, he mentioned generic drugs. Now, we'll bring up generic drugs in just a few moments, but that's an important element to all of this. Other countries are now hiking their drug prices because everybody, according to this administration, should pay their fair share to Big Pharma. That's the whole point. And my bottom line is that this isn't a plan to lower the price of drugs. This is a plan to keep the prices higher all the time. And because Europe, they have all these national health care plans for their own countries, they negotiate with Big Pharma in order to bring those drug prices down dramatically. This is something they decided to do. We're the only country that banned negotiating drug prices. We did that on Medicare. And the reason why Republicans pushed that is because they thought the government had too much power. And Big Pharma could not fight back. They couldn't negotiate well because, well, you know, the U.S. government's big. They can call the shots. So they banned negotiating with Big Pharma. Now, that's the big problem. All the other countries negotiated. Prices came down dramatically, but not in the United States. And so what Trump did, under the guise of lowering the prices in this country, asked Europe and other countries to raise their prices. You remember, this is paying their fair share. They're paying too low a price to these drug companies, and the U.S. is paying too high a price, so let's bring drug prices up for everybody. And that's the point. This is really what they're doing. They brought some drug prices down. They negotiated some drug prices for Medicare. Yes, 13 or 14 drugs. But at the same time, the same day, they lowered those prices. 350 other drugs prices were hiked through the roof, maybe anticipating someday having to lower those prices. But if you hike the prices, you can lower them back down where they would normally have been in the first place. That's the plot. That's the plan. Now, what we really need is a single-payer plan so we can negotiate drug prices and medical services. All right. So here we have this reckless disregard for paying for drugs, a 100% tariff on drugs imported into this country. People are going to be affected by that, people that need these drugs to help them through life. And now we're just kind of playing around with that. We saw this during COVID. Remember, I brought this up. We wanted to make people safe and keep people safe. You get the vaccine, you won't get COVID as badly as if you didn't have the vaccine. In fact, the Republicans, they asked seniors to die for COVID, for herd immunity, because if it was an option, you could either have herd immunity through a vaccine or people just die away. People that get it would die. And they just wanted to have people die instead of get the vaccine, which is a strange option. Okay. Now, Big Pharma represented Australia in all of this, and they have negotiated drug prices in their own country, just like all the other countries, and that's why the prices were so low. And that reporter from Australia asked a question, why are you doing this to us? Because they had at least the forethought to go out there and negotiate prices downward for everybody in Australia. I mean, they did this for the people. And now this country does not want to see that happen. So these are damaging policies by this administration. They don't want to bring prices down too much. They want Big Pharma to keep getting all the profits and people paying higher prices for these drugs, higher prices than they were getting in European countries and Australia because they had negotiated with Big Pharma. Let me just say that if Pharma had a problem with the prices of drugs in any of these countries that negotiated these prices, they wouldn't have negotiated the price. But they did. They acquiesced. They gave in. They gave a good price for all of these countries. We're the only ones that never negotiated. And then, of course, we have a president who said, you got to come here and build your plants and then lower the price of the drugs that you produce in our country. That's the solution. And then he tacks on a 100% tariff on imported drugs. Pretty crazy. And it's not a good plan. He's not helping us. If you can bring the prices down like from $500 a month to $350, I don't think that's making it that affordable. In Europe, you'd pay $10, $15, $20. There's a big difference. Again, the big issue, please, Democrats, start focusing on universal health care coverage. Got to fine-tune that message. I know people are afraid to go to a new system. They're very afraid they might lose their doctor. You can't lose your doctor when you have universal health care. Every doctor is your doctor if you want them to be. Every hospital is your hospital if you want them to be. That's universal health care. That's the way it should be in this country. It's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's not radical. If we're the only country in the world that makes it into a free market system, who's the radical one? We are. All right, well, that just about does it. I hope you enjoyed our little Easter special here out on the south lawn of the White House with the Easter Bunny who had to suffer in that costume for a long period of time listening to the stories and the Trump weave. All right, so we'll see you again. Take care, everybody. We've got more.